chapter clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to episode 310 of College Volleyball Weekly Men's Top 20. And we've just finished the opening rounds, the regionals, the four regionals that happened across the U.S. And we were in for doozies all weekend. And you're probably wondering, what did Jay do to everyone else? Well, he offended them, so we kicked him off.
Yeah, we don't need those other schmoes. Just you and me, Rob. It's just you and me. Let's go.
So that is Jay Hosick of George Mason, and we are missing Dan Friend of Lewis. Nikki was going to be on of McHenry. Nikki Sandlin is. Theo Edwards of CSUN, and of course Brad Rostratter of UC San Diego. But they had important business. Theo meeting with his team, the end of season meeting, which I guess all you guys do as part of your practice. And then others are on very important committees that are going to have a lot to do this week when they pick this one, AVCA Player of the Year. So all good stuff, and it's okay. But Jay and I have done a after dark episode, so to speak, where we've just kind of taken over with just he and I. And great text this morning by Jay. I said, "Hey, he's on Monster, NIL deal for Jay and the Patriots." But I say, "Hey Jay, I need you. Are you going to be able to, fill the dead time? Because I need to be able to look up data." And so it's like, no problem.
Old hat. Are you kidding me? Love hearing my own voice.
Well, let's jump into the action here because, there was a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the opening rounds at each of the regional sites. We're going to start off and, let me jump my notes here really quick. I'm not that unprepared, fresh in from a flight and just getting all my ducks in a row. And we're going to start with the Long Beach Regional and that opening round matchup between Rummy's boys and Loyola. It was a 3-1 win for Loyola, but man, what an effort by the Red Flash. Mike Rummy's boys really representing the NEC in a big kind of way. But Jay, thoughts on that matchup between, of course, the Ramblers and the Red Flash?
Yeah, first of all, I'm gonna give a little throwback to the title you gave it. It's actually Rummy's Rascals. That was a shirt that was made years ago, and it had a picture of Rummy, a silhouette on the front of it. But no, listen, I think on paper everybody thought Loyola was going to be the team that was going to win. They had performers that throughout the year played really well at high levels. But you got to give a lot of credit to St. Francis. They came out and pushed those first two sets into overtime. I think Loyola didn't overlook them. I don't think that was the case. I think Shane is too smart of a coach, and I think his players realize that no matter what you did throughout the year, all bets are off in playoff time. And rightfully so. Red Flash, we've said it before, they run a very unconventional, super fast offense to the left side of the pin and right side. I think it slowed down a little bit as the match wore on, but I think they kept running after it. The challenge with that system is this. When it's on, it's really fast, and you got to pay attention to those guys. If you're not dedicating blockers to them, they're going to beat you. But it's a really high risk, high reward offense. And if your setter is just off a little bit, if your hitter is just off a little bit, next thing you know, it's very pedestrian. And a lot of tips, a lot of throws, a lot of rolls. And you gotta maintain that high level of execution in order for it to be really, really good throughout the course of a match. And I think over time, Loyola running just a simple offense, just took over. But I give a lot of credit to Rummy. Obviously, his program going D3 next year is a big blow to men's volleyball. It's a bummer because St. Francis has been around for a long time and Rummy's been the head coach of it for a long time. But I know they'll be good at D3 and they'll have some of the nicest facilities in D3 in the country because obviously they were D1 for a while. But yeah, hats off to Rummy and his crew. Rummy's Rascals played well. And to go out with a championship in his last year as D1, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, some good stuff by quite a few athletes. Great performances. First for Loyola, Josh Schellinger, 13 kills, hitting 400. Daniel Fabakovic, 10 kills, only in air, hitting 474. Miguel Gate with 35 assists. But for St. Francis, this was a name that kept coming up as we were doing our recaps. Brady Stump,
Yeah,
20 kills, hitting 371. And
yeah,
a lot of buzz about how good a setter Kyle Charles was through the
yeah.
season. 34 assists, and he delivered the rock, as you like to say, Jay. He slung the rock.
Well, listen, I'll tell you, Brady Stump is, I think he's a senior this year. And I
Mhm.
remember when he first got there, we kind of looked at him and we knew about him from recruiting circles, but we obviously didn't get him. And he has progressed really, really well in his career. At first, he's a long kid, 6'7", long levers, and kind of gangly a little bit at times as a young kid, as most young men are. But he really blossomed in his last couple of years, and he was a force. And he jumped well, and he had a good arm. And it's no surprise to me that Brady is the guy that led that charge. Nate Zini, their opposite, was a powerhouse of a kid for them in his first couple of years, and then last year got injured and was out for the entire season. He came back this year so that he could play his last year with them. And he had some moments this year where he was lighting some people up. He has a real strong arm, and just he's built like a truck. And so those two guys were carrying the load. Their center is a tall kid, and 6'6", jumps well, but I think next year he's transferring, and I think he's going to Penn State.
Ooh,
Is
wow.
the rumor, but not sure if that's 100% or if that's public knowledge or not. But that's the rumor on the street.
Now it is.
Yeah, I may have just blown that cover, but the rumor is that's where he's going to go, and that's a good fit for him. He's going to be joining a good team and a good program, obviously.
All right, so let's jump on over to I guess it's the Noblesville or Muncie Regional, since Ball State had commencement ceremonies this last week. But Fort Valley State and Pepperdine. Pepperdine, the 3-0 win against Larry Rather and his Fort Valley team. What are your thoughts on that matchup, Jay?
Well, obviously, congratulations to Larry for Coach of the Year and winning a third or fourth year in a row now of his conference
Yeah,
championship.
yep.
He's building himself a dynasty down there. I think Pepperdine just had too much juice and too many weapons, and I think Fort Valley State is one or two players away from making that match a little bit more interesting, if you will, is the best way I could put it. And Larry had no illusions of grandeur. He wasn't walking in there going, "We're going to beat Pepperdine." He knew he was going to be up against it, and his players played with heart. And I think everybody who heard the name Isaiah Fed, if they watched that match and they saw Isaiah Fed, they knew exactly what we were talking about. Kid's got a cannon, and I think, was this his last year? Is he a senior this
Yeah,
year?
last
Yeah,
year.
and he's going to replace that kid, obviously, with some other people. But Fort Valley State's just marching along, and Pepperdine handle them the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. Well, so some stat lines to pay attention to there. 13 kills, 0 errors, 650. That would be Cole Hartke.
Yeah,
Uh, he is eating it up at the net along with Jose Gomez, 10 kills, 467. Andre Polomash with 31 assists. But you mentioned Isaiah Fed, 8 kills on the night. But I am telling you that if there's one thing that Isaiah Fed has really stuck out for me is his work ethic in
yeah.
training and becoming a better player and documenting that process because he is, I believe he's in the physical training realm of what he wants to do, but
I
you
think
can
so. Yeah,
see his
yeah.
regimen and getting better. People say just get better 1% each day. I think his is like 10% each day.
Yeah, kudos to that kid for that. And I don't know if he's going to play pro. I would hope that he would. I'd love to see what he could do out there. But the kid, when he first got there, we looked at him a little bit, and we just thought maybe the passing was a little bit left to be desired, and didn't get enough information to make us pursue much further. But man, oh man, the kid's worked hard, and I think there's a lot of gyms out there right now that'd be like, yeah, we could use that kid in our gym.
Yeah. And their setter, Logan Rogers, I want to shout out to. He had 14 assists. But, just seeing him play on the court, he was taking charge. He was he's the aggressor, trying to force Pepperdine to respect what he was doing on there. And I thought
Yeah.
he did a really good job, even from the service line. The service line doesn't show aces for him, but he was putting them out of system pretty regularly from the service line.
Yeah, Fort Valley State's a team that I think in the future you're going to see them take a first round match. I wouldn't be surprised. And Larry's a good coach, so
And we're going to jump on over to the Hawaii or Honolulu or Manoa regional, and that is the Belmont Abbey versus USC matchup. 3-0 win for Dylan Klein and the Trojans. Dylan Klein, 11 kills, 364, 4 digs, and Sterling Foley in the mix as well with 9 kills. But USC going with a different setter.
yeah, Chapin stepped in, and the kid's good. Yeah, somebody made a comment. I was watching a match versus Hawaii, and somebody made a comment. You look at Chapin and you go, the kid's got to be like 5'10", 5'11", and somebody said no, he's like 6'3", 6'4", but he stands around so many giant guys. He looks really, really tiny, but he's a young setter, and he was at Miracosta, and obviously knows how to run an offense, and he's a good kid. And I shudder to think, I wonder what he could have done, and he had more experience this year, because it looked like at times, in that match versus Belmont Abbey, I think it is what it is. But in the match against Hawaii, you could see there were moments where he was calm, cool, collected, and running, and then there were some moments where he got a little bit sketchy and tried to do maybe too much. And I wonder if with experience, he would start to realize, okay, this is the moment that I can get a little squirrely, and this is the moment where I need to keep things simple. But yeah, I mean, listen, Belmont Abbey, love you. Great job this year. And Derek and his crew do a great job of coaching. And obviously that program is, they're also the powerhouse of the Conference Carolinas now, winning 3 in a row. But I noticed, and I think a few other people did too, their team was a lot less chirpy versus USC than in normal cases. And I wonder why that was. Either they look at USC differently and they wanted to show some respect, or they look at other teams without that kind of respect and feel that they can push their way around a little bit. But it was quite noticeable that it was different than most matches with them. And maybe that's part of their moxie, and that's how they play better, when they actually have a little chirpiness through the net. But regardless, good year for Belmont Abbey. And obviously SC was just marching on because they had a destiny with Hawaii.
Yeah. Belmont Abbey from the Conference Carolinas repping. They finished the season 20-5. So great year again for the Crusaders. So
yeah, and one of those wins was against us. We take
sorry, Jaddy, I didn't realize that.
That's okay. No, I'm not ashamed to say it. It is what it is. So
yeah. And that brings us to our final regional, the UCLA regional opening match, and probably one we'll spend quite a bit of time on just because so much happened. Penn State and UC Irvine. An incredible 3-2 battle. And Jay, I'll let you start in first. I'm going to pull up numbers here because there's some phenomenal performances out here.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you handle the numbers. Here's my thought process. First of all, I think everybody thought that was the match to watch in the first round because it was 2 evenly matched teams, and obviously 2 teams that were able to beat each other. There is no doubt there. So that match became all of a sudden very, very important. UCI and Penn State have some history together, and that history is folkloric now, if you will. Back in 2007, when the match was at Penn State and
2006.
2006, sorry, and the lights infamously went off during the 5th set and caused a little bit of a stir, and obviously there was a delay, and the next thing you know, Penn State wins a match, and it was folkloric. People talk about it still to this day. You go into this match, and all of a sudden in the 5th, I think it was the 5th set, or was it 4th set? 5th set?
5th set. Lights go out.
Set?
It's 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. I'm on the broadcast. Lights go out.
Yeah, and so we go into this match, and all of a sudden a swing comes from the other side, and Costi gets popped in the nose, and blood is coming out. It's not just a trickle; it's coming. And there was a medical timeout, rightfully so. And there's some history behind this, and I think people should understand. Medical timeouts are only supposed to be 3 minutes, right? You're supposed to be able to look at a kid, give them a test, do a tape job, do what you got to do. And coaches understand you're not taking advantage of a timeout like some people do, where they ask for a floor wipe, or they magically step on their shoelace and untie it, and then take their sweet time to tie their shoe. Like, medical timeouts are kind of sacred in that fashion.
Yeah.
Costi needed more time. And I think at one point, the referee went up to Pav and said, hey, we're running into this taking a little bit longer than normal. And Pav said, I don't care. Take your time. He deserves to get work done. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but he goes, I don't want that to be the moment that gets ruined for him. He's a fighter, and do what you got to do. That's Pav in a nutshell. For anybody who doesn't know him, he always wants to beat your team. There's no doubt. And he'll do whatever he can to do it. But he's also a human. He's a really good one at that. And
one of the best humans.
One of the best humans. And that statement or that moment, I mean, I get verklempt just thinking about it. That's easily a moment that any coach could be like, hey, what's going on? Why are we taking so long? And my guys are getting cold. They're screaming and yelling and getting pissed off. And Pav looked at him and went, this is a human sports moment. Like, let's let the kid get fixed, and allowed him to come back on the court. And in your whole season, your whole career, in typical Pav fashion, comes down to 13 all. 13 all in the fifth set of your potentially your final match. And ultimately it was. And handled it with style and grace and ease. And, you know, you could see it afterwards. It was definitely, you could see the steam being let off. He was just like, oh, can't believe it's over. But man, oh man, hats off to UC Irvine. They are the darlings right now of the tournament. And for a number of reasons, which we'll talk about other moments. But you gotta give this Costi kid a little credit here, because that kid gets popped in the nose and is I don't know if it's broken. I'm not making any statements, but man, oh man, it sure bled like it was. And he had to go out and get a blood jersey, go out of the gym and come back into the gym. Then he had to get it worked on a few points later. And Nif's taking his jacket off, which we're going to talk about the jacket later on, but takes his jacket off to cover the blood so he doesn't get blood on the blood jersey. Because if you don't have that blood jersey, if you have blood, you can't play. And there's no more jerseys to hand out. You can't switch numbers. And so, I mean, there's just so many storylines that go on with that. But how much fun was that match? I was glued to the TV the entire time.
Well, on a humorous side, you got to check out Matt Houlihan's fifth set breakdown of that match. He calls it the blood jersey match, and good for laughs. I encourage you to go that way.
I'm going to check that out for sure.
But in regards to the sportsmanship thing, and this is incredible also, I just want to add on, because Nif felt bad enough that he's taken so much time. He walked over to Pav and said, hey, Pav, I can burn a timeout to make this legal. And Pav said, no, man.
Yeah.
Just do your thing.
Yeah.
So
that's that. And that's the nature of the beast between men's volleyball and women's volleyball in general. And listen, we make these statements all the time about the differences in coaching and how we treat each other. And it's not like that 100% of the way. There are obviously very respectful coaches out there on the women's side that we all know, and some that we don't know. But, you know, there's a lot that get it too. So please, ladies and gentlemen, don't write hate mail. But on the whole, I would suspect that if you saw this happen in the women's tournament with some of those higher up teams, there would be some coaches that would be up in arms, screaming and yelling at the referee, going, this is not legal. He needs to sub her out. You need to call a timeout instead. Like all these things, because they need an edge. They need an edge. And on the men's side, we're all humans and we all know each other. You know, like Pav had a press conference afterwards. And in that press conference, he mentions, you know, about how we want to beat each other. But after the match, those coaches are asking, hey, where are we going to go catch up and get a drink afterwards? That's 100% true, by the way. 100% true. We all hang out at some point. The coaches on the panel that we have here on this podcast have stayed at my house. Every coach in the country that I've known for years, we go get drinks when we're out recruiting. When we're on the road, we go hang out together the night before a match. We do this all the time because we're in a business of people. And if we don't like the people that we work with or people that we are our colleagues and competitors of ours, what are we doing? You know, and in the grand scheme of things, nobody cares about the wins and losses. It's about who I'm involved with in all these things. And the men's side is just full of tremendous people. And so, yeah, it does not surprise me that Pav told Niffy that. Nif did the right thing. Hey, I'll burn a timeout. I'll do what I got to do to make this legal so we don't, you know, do this wrong. Yeah. And it's just two gentlemen coming to an agreement of, we'll make it work. Don't worry about it.
Yep. And I put this out there because the Volley Talkers want to, have mentioned potentially some controversial uh, elements there. John Costi, who's of Stanford, happened to be the NCAA administrator, and
Yeah.
they're saying, "Oh, he's allowed it because his son." It's not that.
No.
John Costi is by the book, and he is another one of the stellar individuals like Pav does it for the integrity of the game. There was no like, oh, well, maybe I should do this because,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No.
So,
People that say that don't know Costi, so just stop it because it's not true. John, if you looked at John throughout the course of the match, he barely even said a word. He just sat there. He didn't try to go up and orchestrate anything and look at somebody,
yep.
give him a nod, like, hey, give him extra time. He didn't do any of that stuff. Costi is 100% by the book, and he does it for the right reasons. I've known John for years, and I just anybody who says that just it's being idiotic. It's not true.
So, going over towards a play though, a face that came off the bench for Penn State, and I'm like, holy crud, it's Jalen Phillips. The way he was jumping out of that right side, I'm like, oh my, Tristan Hessel.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
goodness.
you say Jalen Phillips. I'll go a deeper one. Jalen Penrose. And he
Oh,
actually looks like Jalen Penrose. Yeah, Canadian kid, jumps a ton, super fiery competitor. He likes to chirp a lot through the net, and he carries his team. He's a spark plug. Luoma is a good opposite, but occasionally, he kind of gets lost in the shuffle of things. He's not as fiery, if you will. But
yeah.
when Pabs, needs a little jolt of energy, he puts that kid in there, and next thing Penn State's starting to fire on all cylinders. And he has off nights, but he also has a lot of good nights.
Yeah.
And he's a really, really good competitor. He's going to be there for another few years, which I both love and hate at the same time.
Yeah. The EIVA is going to get a little tight there, Jay.
Yeah, yeah, and in typical Penn State fashion, especially when I was there, the opposite position's been a little chirpy at times, and it's part of the makeup of the whole thing. So,
Well,
no, good for him.
you get some blue collar guys in there banging from what's the Nikki referred to one of those towns in Pennsylvania where you get these workhorse dudes that are blue collar that just hit the snot out of the ball.
Yeah, yeah. No, Pennsylvania itself is salt of the world, salt of the earth kind of people. My assistant coach is from Pennsylvania, and I've had a number of players from Pennsylvania on my team here, and yeah, they work their butts off and they don't complain and they just go get it. And so, Sal's from Canada, so I think he's from Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, and wanted to come down and get a big school experience and joined a good program.
Yeah. Other names: Owen Rose, 7 kills, 4 block assists, 11 points, and Jackson Herr with a nod at the start, 46 assists, 3 digs, and 2 block assists. Another GCU transfer. So
Yeah, yeah. Grand Canyon had a few kids that left that place and have done some nice things. So glad to see that they get a chance to continue their careers, and he got to go out on a high note, at least, and being part of Pavs last year. That's pretty special. So,
yeah,
yeah, Penn State, hell of a year. Obviously there's a lot of outside noise about Pav retiring and all that hoopla. And Penn State just did a nice job of containing all that stuff and just playing hard. And, it's unfortunate that they got matched up against a team of that caliber in the first round. It could have been anybody, and it wasn't on purpose. I still think the committee got it right. I don't think it's the wrong call. But, that was the match. And everybody
yeah.
wanted to watch that match out of the first round. That was the most exciting to watch, at least for the general fan. And it proved to be the starting point of what the rest of the weekend was like.
Well, one of the things that Penn State did against UC Irvine was they held Jokanovic to below 250 hitting for the match. And you don't do that often against him, but teams have been throwing more resources at him. He's going up against 3 blocks every time, it seems like. But then that means the rest of the Anteaters had to step up, which case was William Darcy, 13 kills, 423. And of course, Cam Costi, 43 assists, but rising up as of late. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about him. Andreas Brink, the Danish beach player playing
Yeah.
outside for Irvine. But he was stable in serve receive and great defender and serves a tough hybrid serve. So changing it up, changing the look up because they were going with Andin Kyriakou in the beginning for defensive purposes, but they need a bigger block to challenge the opposites that Irvine's going to be facing here in the tail end of the season. So,
yeah, Irvine, Niff's always been a coach that has an ace up his sleeve, in previous years. And I will Tangator, I think is the name.
yep, Akil Tangator.
Yeah. he was a kid that started some matches and then was a backup for some matches. But Niff's kind of like an old school basketball coach. He's got a big team and he's got a control team. And that's kind of what I think his role was control. And Brink obviously is a young kid, but he has a tremendous amount of ball control, and they needed it a little bit more and wanted to have a different look. And so he shifted gears. Good for him. That's pretty fun. It's nice to get a new name in there. So he's going to be a kid that you're going to see and probably hear his name a lot more in the future.
Yep. So with that, we move on to the regional finals, so to speak.
Oh, what a day.
Oh,
Can I just say one thing before we get started on this? Please, NCAA committee in charge of scheduling,
Dan.
don't put them 1 hour apart from each other. What are we doing? There used to be, back in the day, it was a full day event. Granted, it was only 3 conferences, so you could do it a little bit easier. But you started at, I don't know, let's just say 12 noon if you're on the West Coast, and then you watched all night long, all the conferences. Why can't we do that this year? Why we opened it to 12, which was fantastic. And I know Dan's going to give me a lot of crap about this. And Dan, I'm not yelling at you, so please don't.
Yeah,
don't.
yes, he is. Dan, he is yelling at you.
He can yell at me all he wants. But I guarantee you, I'm talking probably what the rest of the fans in the world or in the country are talking about, which is, God, as much as we love just being able to watch whatever match we wanted, because you had such good matchups, there has to be a way to schedule it so that everybody could be, even if they're 2-hour staggers, you take a little bit of leeway. Maybe you miss the first set of the next match because of the fact that maybe it went 5 games, which obviously it did. But man, oh man, you were forced to pick and choose. And so it was kind of a little bit of a bummer. But what a day. What a day of volleyball. I was glued to my TV all day long.
Yep. And we're going to start with the Loyola Long Beach State matchup. So let's drop our notes and see what the volley wizard of Jay Hosick and the maestro says about that matchup in Long Beach.
Well, the Loyola hit 371, Long Beach hit 369. Schellinger, it was the Schellinger show. He hit 500, had 14 kills on 24 attempts. Sosa hit 357, 14 kills on 28 attempts. You look at Varga, he hit 520, 14 kills, 1 error in 25 attempts. It was the Vargas show on that side. And, Fabakovic had a little bit of a mishap. He hit negative 067. I think the real difference for me was the service pressure that Long Beach put on him. 8 aces to 1. And that means the ones that weren't aces, they were beating the snot out of it and putting them out of system. And Loyola still fought tooth and nail, but I think, Fabakovic, who normally is a decent out of system hitter, I think struggled a little bit. And I think, the weight got put on some other guys. And when you only have a couple that can carry that weight, it's tough. I think that was, and the scores were relatively close, 20s, I think, in those. But yeah, Long Beach was just firing on a lot of cylinders, and service pressure was the name of the game.
Well, you look at that stat line, you're talking about aces, 8 aces to 8 errors. That's what you as a coach are shooting for right there.
Well, we're fine with 1 ace to 3 errors if we're being serious, and that's 1-to-1. I'll take 1-to-1 any day of the week.
Well, before we were going to jump on, I was asking you to jump on into volumetrics because the box scores that we have that we see to the public don't have the service attempts. And to me, that's a telling story because Long Beach State was camping at the service line because although we say only 8 aces, they're wreaking havoc for the receiving line of Loyola.
Yeah, that's a strong suit for them is their service pressure, and that rang true on that match. But again, congrats to Shane. What a heck of a year, and to be a team that gets in that large bid out of the MIVA conference and not a West Coast team, the other one, that says a lot. And, welcome back, Shane. that's a heck of a way to come back in and take this program. And, I just know it's your second year and you're doing some good things. So yeah, Shane's back at it.
Second year.
Yeah. Business
second
as usual. Business as usual for Shane Davis and his crew. So,
well, he has something special. He lost 2 major pieces during the season in Alexander Sosha and Ryan McElligott early on. Yeah. So the fact he's able to plug in pieces and still compete in the MIVA this year, is telling.
Yeah, the MEVA is a tough conference, so and deservingly so of the other at large. So yeah, it's we all have our things to deal with as coaches, and he did a real nice job of managing that.
And then, of course, Skylar Varga, I think he's turning on his AVCA Player of the Year caliber performance. 14 kills, one error, and a scorching 520. And I say only two aces because he is popping the ball from the service line every time.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's just a true competitor. He's cat-like. He's built really well, like athletically, where he can, do a lot of different things and never look out of sorts. There are a lot of guys that are tall, but they're kind of gangly and they don't really have coordination. And then the little guys, yeah, they got all the coordination, but they can't jump super high. So Scarlett Varga is like a combination of both. And another Canadian, the Canadians are doing some damage. And who knew? Who knew? We'd be out in a boat, so to speak, if you will.
They've
But
been jumping the river, man, jumping the river and
I
climbing the
love
wall.
Canada. I love Canada. It's a great place. So it's nice to see kids come down. And it's really tough to get kids to come down from Canada because the level of play in Canada is super high. The top 5, 10, 15 teams are all really, really good. It's Division I level, if not a little better, because they have older players and they also have pro players that can play in college. So there's a little bit of a higher caliber, if you will, but it's cheap. Canada universities are dirt cheap. Some of them are $5,000 a year, and so to come down here and spend 3, 4, 5, 6 times that, depending on where you go, if you're not getting a full ride, that says something about them wanting to come down and be a part of it all. So,
Yeah. Well, another athlete, and we talked before jumping on, was someone who gets overlooked, so to speak, is Connor Bloom of Long Beach State. With the injury to Alex Kondev, he had to step in, but man, he is contributing in a fantastic way for the beach.
yeah, and Long Beach, in the last few years has had a few of those guys. Nato Dickinson, I think, was one.
Yeah, Nathan
Harlan
Harlan.
Harlan was one that came out, and you didn't see them all year long, but when they came out, they were just a spark plug. They would just come in and do some great things at the right moment. Connor Bloom has been a stalwart on that team. He's been there for years. And
As a serving sub.
Yeah, as a serving sub. Like, who did you just got that as a serving sub in your back pocket, Nick? I mean, that's crazy. But no, he came in. But that's the thing about what we talk about with our athletes is you may not be the starter, but when your number gets called, that's your time to shine. And that's what he did. And he took his role and said, okay, I got my number called. I'm going on the court. I'm going to give it my all and do what I got to do. And it's for them, it's plug and play. It's not readjust and take time to figure it out and slowly ramp up. It's like, oh, this bullet's not working. Pull that bullet out, put the other one in. It fires just like everything else. That's scary. And that kind of depth is gnarly. So,
yeah. Well, Nick, who is the now Big West Coach of the Year, was going to a 6-2 type rotation for a little bit here in the tail end of the regular season and into the Big West men's volleyball championship. But he stuck with Jake Pisani, who had 36 assists and 8 digs and an ace. And, what a great performance for Pisani too. I mean, really stepping up first year with the starting nod after the Moni effect. And, he's stepping in really nicely.
Yeah. It's some pretty big shoes to fill. You're coming in.
No, overrated. Not kidding.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, I'm just gonna do what I do, and kid got a little heat from the average fan. The people were not nice to him at times, and like, oh, he's not that good, and oh, he's not that strong, it's not Moni. The Moni was Moni, and you move on. And comparison is the thief of joy, and let Pisani be Pisani. And just because he's not as flashy doesn't mean he wasn't as good. They had Aiden Knight, who was not very flashy for years. Yeah. And, that kid got hammered too when Moni came around because they compared him. And it's like, you can't compare those things. You got to let them just be individuals. So, the 6-2-5-1 thing, some teams experiment with it a little bit here and there. Some teams use it as a weapon because they want a different lineup matchup, whatever the case is, or maybe they want to, keep things all flowing in the front row, whatever the case is. You don't see a ton of it on the men's side, much more prevalent on the women's side because they're just more equal athletes, whatever the case is. But if you have that ability and your guys are cool with it and it works well, more power to you.
Yeah. Well, I just want to finish out by saying for Loyola leading the way that night for the Ramblers, that would be, I got to go up to my notes that are
Schellinger.
Schellinger had a great night 500. That's right. 14 kills, 500.
Yeah.
Soja, 14 kills, 357, and Ryan McGilligan, 31 assists, 4 digs. And man, still in that mix. I mean, Shane's got a good team. You still have Daniel Fabakovic. You have JJ Soa, their libero. Um, I mean, they came out of Miva. They're going to be tough. And what does Nikki say? Midwest grit.
Yeah. Yeah. Shane's going to be dangerous for years to come, and he's got great recruits coming in too. So it's, yeah, and Loyola's going to be a handful.
They're going to be dangerous.
Oh, that's a 2-point deduction, my friend. That's a bad dad
Hey,
joke.
Shane,
Right
if you do it or Loyola, I only ask for 5%. Since you're bros, I give you the discount.
Moving on.
All right. I would determine the order we're going to talk about. This was hard because the remaining three, not that Long Beach Loyola wasn't a big one, but there was so much going on in it that was such high level that people are still talking about it even today. So
Yeah.
I think I'm just go by time zone when they finish is the only way I can do it.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be Pepperdine, Ball State in the Noblesville, and the name of my favorite basketball team is it the Boom, the Noblesville Boom is the name of
Boom.
the G
Yeah,
League team.
it's a nice facility, 37 miles away from campus from Ball State,
Yeah,
and kudos to them for finding a way to host it because I think it mattered, right? If they
yeah.
didn't put in a
Oh,
bid to host,
yeah.
then it could have
Ask
been a neutral
Pepperdine.
site. Yeah, exactly.
That mattered.
And so kudos to the admin and Ian Dolo and the staff and everybody figuring out a way to be the host. It's unfortunate because it was graduation weekend, so the stands maybe weren't, and 37 miles away, that's not an easy jaunt. And so it wasn't as easy for the fans to get to. So there might have been quite a larger number of fans in the stands. It could have been sold out if it were in the city. But regardless of that, that match set the tone for the rest of the day. And when you look at Pepperdine and Ball State, everybody at Pepperdine knows of two players, and that's Barnett and Harkey. Those are the two guys that are the Pistons that drive that bus. I think Ball State sent a message really quick in that first set. In fact, the first swing that Harkey got, he was stuffed. And basically that was Ball State saying, not today, my friend. And, Harkey and Barnett throughout the course of the year, even on bad days, they're hitting pretty big numbers. And Harkey in the first set, I think, was hitting negative, if I'm not mistaken. But overall, Barnett only hit 212, 13 kills out of 33 attempts. Harkey only hit 254. Now, those are not awful numbers. They're pedestrian numbers. And throughout the course of the year, we have talked about teams having that one or two guys that teams are going to focus on. And you're not going to stop those players, but you're going to focus on them and slow them down a little bit. That's the goal. Can you slow them down and make the rest of your team pick it up and pick up the slack and put balls away where you need to take a little pressure off? I think Ball State did a really nice job of slowing those two down, and I think the rest of the team still playing well. It went 5. I'm not saying that Ball State, shut them down completely. But it pushed the match longer. And in the 5th set, Ball State only hit 118, but
Wow.
Pepperdine only hit 080, and that says something right there. And I think over time, Ball State just had a couple of more percentage points of things here and there that worked in their favor. But I just, Rogers only hit 200. Ryan Lewis hit 324. Will Patterson had a good night. He had 12 kills on 18 swings, 0 errors, hit 667. Rogers, though, had 4 aces, and that's big. And I think the last 2 of them were the biggest serves of his career. I like Ball State, though, because of their setter. Machado is a lot of fun to watch. Lefty, another Canadian, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought he was Brazilian.
Is he Brazil? I'm sorry. You're right. He's Brazilian. My fault. But super fiery competitor. Has a great serve that is kind of a float hybrid. He pulls it up at the last second and changes the speeds. Super deceptive and just does so many good things for his team and puts balls in the right spots at the right time. I like that guy a lot and saw him live this year in our gym and just really enjoyed watching him run his team's offense. Ball State was a team that I think on paper everybody thought, at least west of the Mississippi, that Pepperdine was going to win. And listen, Nikki Sandlin, I'm giving you a little love here. You called it, Ball State, and good for them. And good for them to get back to the Final Four. And Iandola doing a great job with his team, and just that was so much fun to watch. But that set the tone. The whole day was like that.
Yes. Well, I wanted to point out though, hitting 347 as a team, but look at those blocking stats for both sides. It was a block fest. 33 block assists for Ball State and a solo. For Pepperdine, 26 block assists and 2 solos.
Yeah.
A lot of things are falling from the sky that night.
The Malibu Roofing Company and the Muncie Roofing Company were in full effect that night and working hard, and just super, super fun to watch though. And the crowd was into it. The gym is super nice. They brought the Ball State floor, which is good, the Terraflex. And so it gave them a little home court advantage feel there. And it was just super, super fun to watch.
Well, got to walk through the last few points because this is one of those matches that you're sitting on the edge of your seat. You're going, oh my gosh, pulling your hair out. Pepperdine goes up 14-12 because Rogers got set on the right side, a little too far inside for him. He tried to do the shove shot, and Harkey said, here's my Kong block. His fingers, they were probably as long as like a netting on a fishing boat, just swatted it down. So Ball State loses the challenge. So that's 14-12. Then they sub in a server. I didn't get the name of the server. He serves it out. So it's 14-13 Pep. Rogers at the service line, and hugest block of the tournament, Will Patterson, Ryan Lewis, and Will Basilio on a big swing by Harkey out of the right side. Just, it came down so hard and so fast. It bounced underneath Harkey. And that made that 14 all. Then the storybook ending for Patrick, Captain Rogers, the new Captain America.
Goes back
aces to win the match.
Yeah, there's something to be said. People that talk about volleyball, they go, why are they serving so hard when they know they have a high error rate? That's why. That is exactly why. And listen, most coaches say it in their gym. Big time players make big time plays at big time moments. And that it doesn't get much bigger than that for that kid. And you got to give that kid some credit. He's in the Final Four for National Player of the Year, and I bet he made a massive statement with that play right there. He should be considered in the top 2, if you ask me. But man, oh man, was that exciting to watch. And I got goosebumps watching it because I could feel the energy. And that kid went back to the service line at 14-0 and said, I got to make something happen here for my team, and then gets that ace, and then goes back and goes, I got nothing to lose, and just went through his process and went back and bombed it. And man, was it fun. It was fun. And let's not talk about this weird shift that Iandola did in the second set. If I'm not mistaken, and I don't know exactly what he did on accident, because it was an accident. It was not on purpose.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, there was a shift going on with his outside hitter and his opposite, I think.
Yeah, that was Basilio and Lewis.
Yeah,
Basilio was actually blocking at the right side of the block and that play on Harkey. They're committing Lewis on Harkey.
Yeah, and there was a player mix-up in his lineup. And Iandola at the end of the match acknowledged it. He goes, yeah, my players looked at me and go, what'd you do that for? And I say, hey, you guys made it work. It happens. It happened to me when I first started coaching. I actually put a wrong lineup in, which is why nowadays I give my assistant the lineup before, because sometimes we make mistakes. Or flipping the dial and we forget number sequencing. And I think that happened in that match because there was a moment I looked and I go, why is he the opposite now? And why is this guy the outside? And I thought it was strange, but I thought they were trying to do like a lineup shift, right? They wanted to get some matchups that were better.
That's what I was thinking also.
When I heard him make the admission that, we made a mistake, I was like, oh, geez, that's way to go, coach. But your players responded really, really well, and they got it done. And that's a great story.
Yeah. Well, with that, they punched their ticket into the Fantastic Four, not the Final Four.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Nice.
Well, let's jump over. Did we go any numbers? Did we go over any numbers? I don't think we did. Rogers, 15 kills, 200.
Yeah, we did.
They contained it, but he still was able to do damage. 4 aces. Ryan Lewis, 16 kills, 324. Harkey, 23 kills, 254, and Barnett, 13 kills. So one of the hair pulling matches of the night Great
Yeah.
for volleyball fans, which I think is funny. I was listening to the closeout by the commentators, like, "You're not gonna see a better volleyball match tonight." I'm like, "Au contraire."
As Coach Corso would say, not so fast, my friend.
Yeah. But we're gonna go to the Hawaii regional,
Okay.
just because it's a four-setter and it's still a great match. A USC team coming off the win off of Belmont Abbey, but they came out playing really strong. It ended up being going 3-1 to Hawaii as they punched their ticket into the Fantastic Four. But
Yeah.
thoughts on the matchup, Jay, or the
Well,
match?
it went 3-1, but it was that close to going 5.
Yes.
And then in that one, you have no idea what could have happened. Here's the thing. Klein and Foley are the two guys that we have been following all year long. Obviously, the middles, Smith and Tompkinson, are both very, very capable of tall trees that do some nice things. But I think, you see Chapin coming in and running this offense, and a young, I don't want to say inexperienced, but a younger, less collegiate experience, if you will, coming in and running an offense of that caliber. At times, he looked really smooth. And then there were times that he looked a little frantic, like he was trying to make too much happen instead of just making the smart decision. But still ran a really, really good offense. And I think we get to they split 1-1, and then Hawaii goes up 2-1. And then there was a moment in that fourth game that Pepperdine, USC was down 13-20 in that fourth set, 13-20. Now, there are historically very few matches where that score happens and a team will come back to win. Very few. I've been a part of them on both sides, but it's so rare that most teams and most people think, okay, 13-20, we've got this handled. We're going to make fine. All of a sudden, Foley gets concussioned. He goes up for a triple block, and I say this.
Yeah.
I said it wrong. Concussion is the wrong way, but he gets hit
Concussed.
square face. He goes up. You see the ball hit him right here, and it goes off the screen and the TV. And I immediately went, "Whoa, man! That he's got to be seeing stars." I didn't notice it because I took a break and went to my kitchen for an adult beverage at that moment. I come back, and they sub in a kid named Christian Connell, 6'2", outside hitter. You're just like, all right, well, they're just putting this kid in because, Foley's concussed. And sure enough, that's what happened. He didn't want to get out. Apparently he, had a little bit of a rage there behind the scenes, but rightfully so. He's a competitor. He doesn't want to lose this chance to compete and help his team. He was hitting, I don't even know what he was hitting. He was hitting
333 on the night.
333. Yeah, kid's helping. He's part of that thing. But they're down 13-20. So at that moment, Connor goes in. The next thing you know, he gets 2 quick kills, and you blink, and it's 19-23. 19-23, USC is down. Still, almost every fan in the country is going, all right, they got a couple of points, whatever the case is. I blinked, and it was 23-all. And all of a sudden, you go, here come the Trojans. The next thing you know, it's 30-all. And they are battling back and forth. And USC at one point was swinging for the set and taking it at 5. They were up by 1 and swinging. And you're going, man, this USC team has got some fight to them. And there's all kinds of, referee challenges that are going on, and Nygaard's, giving the business to the ref about a call that they missed. Because I watched a couple of these plays happen. One of them was a block call that was not called, and a double call, that was not called. And Nygaard rightfully challenged it because it went off the middle blocker's hand, came back and caromed against the leg of the blocker. And then that blocker, I think it was Rohr, if I'm not mistaken. And then that blocker off his leg.
It wasn't Todd, the middle?
I don't think it was Todd that played the ball secondly. I think Todd was maybe the middle where it happened, where he touched it first. But then played the ball a second contact. And Nygaard's like, that's not legal. And they went onto the screen and they looked at the challenge, and somehow Hawaii got that call. Maybe I missed something, but I saw it clearly, and I watched it on Volleymetrics. It clearly hit the blocker's hand and clearly hit the other blocker's leg, and then that player played it a second time. And if the referee claimed that it was a singular move and that you can't call a double on a singular block move, that's not – the block move is up here. It's not it's not hand and then off the leg and then playing it up. That's not true. So
Yeah.
USC could have gotten jobbed in that. I don't know what moment that was, if it was a critical moment for the set or not, but I was definitely feeling for Nygaard at that. But then,
well, that would have been the fourth set because that was the 32-30 that ended up going Hawaii's way.
Oh, so there you go. Who knows
Yeah.
what could have happened there? And that's such a bummer because, and then to end it all, Dylan Klein gets called for a double contact on his final collegiate attack.
Oh, I thought it was a net call.
No, he doubled. He tried to swipe it, and when he swiped it or tried to jam it, it came out spinny and it didn't touch the blocker and it went out of bounds and it went in bounds, but he got called for the double contact because you're not allowed to do that. Yeah. Shoot it over. And that's such a bummer because Klein was such a stud for that team for the last number of years. And, you know, the rumor that he's not going pro and not going national team and he's going to the private sector. Wow. what a really missed special player from the higher levels. That it'll be a bummer that we won't be able to see him compete at the stage that we all think he's deserving of being at. But you know what? It's his life. He can do what he wants, and more power to him. And so, another fantastic match. The crowd, we can't not talk about the Hawaii crowd. Sold out, 10,300 seats, filled to the brim. Some people, some fans are talking about, why can't anybody else do that? Because it's a special place. Hawaii's special. I know they're only 1,500 at UCLA and only, 1,300 at Ball State and only so many, 13 or 15 or whatever. And they said, combined, those three were less than Hawaii. Yeah, because Hawaii is a special place. Their fans love volleyball and they love you in Hawaii. They're going to come out and support for them. And you can't compare those places and say, well, they're not good. No, they're not. Yeah, they're not at your level. Your fan base is unreal. And so kudos to the Hawaiian fans for coming out. And it was a late afternoon match. That's even cooler. It wasn't even like they had the rest of the day. They came out midday to support that team. So, yeah, it was another grinder, and I thought it was over at 13-20, and it ended up going almost in another set. It was unreal.
Yeah. Well, some numbers from that USC Hawaii matchup. Christian Tetrisky, not a surprise, 19 kills, 3 block assists, 20.5 points. Adrian Rohr, 13K, 458, 7 aces, which ties an NCAA tournament record.
Yeah, out of the 9 aces that Hawaii had, he had 7 of them. What?
And then Louis Sakanoko, 12 Ks. It's a low end for a Louis night, but I mean, he still contributes in so many other ways.
And Travell had 8 kills, 0 errors on 12 attempts, hitting 667. It's great. Yeah. And then and another Grand Canyon transfer.
Yeah. Grand Canyon, look what you could have had. Just saying.
Worley. Worley's just he's so angry right now.
Well, Tread Rosenthal, the 2026 Big West Player of the Year, fantastic night. 56 assists, an ace, 6 digs, solo block and 2 block assists. I'm telling you, he's fun to watch.
And he's not done yet.
And the AVCA Player of the Year finalists as well, with Andrew Rowan, Patrick Rogers, and
deservingly so.
I'm forgetting another name on there. Oh, Skylar Varga. There you go.
Yeah.
We're not forgetting about the Canadians. We like Canadians. Just so you guys know, we just every once in a while we forget about them.
Yeah. What was the old South Park? Hey, you're America's hat.
My God.
That was the old South Park joke.
Jay
It wasn't me saying that. That's South Park, not me. South Park said it. No, that's a gnarly foursome of people to choose from. The All-American Committee's got their work cut out for them. You froze on me.
Fantastic Four, which brings us to our final regional final, the UCLA regional, and man, it was a doozy, and it is on fire on the internet. UC Irvine pulling the upset of number 1 UCLA, handing them only their second loss of the season. But man, controversial 5th set. But let's talk about the play, and then we can go into the controversy. Go ahead.
Let's start out with this stat. UCI versus UCLA, 0-12 going into this match. 0-12. And I feel that pain because it's been that way with Penn State the last few years for us. We have gone 5 sets, 5 or 6 times, and we just can't seem to pull it out. So you already know that UCI is going in knowing they're the underdog, right? And UCLA's got a little bit of confidence. But man, oh man, what an absolute match to watch. There's controversy, good play, scrambling, injuries, storylines of the coaches and what they're doing. It just, there's so many different directions to go. So I'll let you pick which direction do we go first.
Well, we'll start with we'll go with Irvine comes out in the first set and they mean business. They go up by 4-5 at one point, but they only ended up winning because UCLA this entire season, I say that just because I saw them very early on, week 2, 3, and then at the First Point Collegiate Challenge, they would let teams think they could beat them. And then they would go on this massive run on the tail end of sets and just steal it from them. And I'm thinking, oh, this could happen again because Irvine took them to 5 at Irvine, and another epic match for this year. And when that dropped, something kind of changed on the Irvine side. I think it was a much needed courage surge that, like, okay, we got this, and it's in their home. So Andreas Brink came out hot. The Danish beach player finished the night with 17 kills, hitting 483, 2 assists, 7 digs. And
there is an asterisk by his name, though. And we'll talk about that in a minute. There is an asterisk by his name. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But you're right, 483. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's above average. As we say in the business, slightly above average.
Well, you know, on the other side of the net, you got this other battle with Sean Kelly and Zach Rama, and they were on fire. How do you stop it?
Kelly was unstoppable. That kid, you could do no wrong with that kid. He had 435, 26 kills on 46 attempts. What? Those are dumb numbers. And you're right. And Rama, 366, dumb number. Thorne, 538, 8 kills, 1 error, which we'll talk about later. And then Decker hit 250. He had a decent night. UCLA led in points, kills, blocks, assists, and digs.
And hitting percentage.
And hitting percentage. And the only stat they didn't lead in was aces. They were -2 to UC Irvine on aces. And Irvine, the darlings of the tournament right now. They are the darlings, right? Everybody looks at them and likes them. You know, it's not like UCI is a lowly little D2 team that nobody cares about. They're just kind of fighting their way. They're a very, very, very good team. But you're up against the powerhouse. You're up against the number 1 seed, only lost 1 match of the year, 12-0 against you. Like there's so many things that UCLA just went, okay, we're just going to go out and ball. But we can't not talk about what happened in the 5th set. Can't not talk about it. You have to talk about it. You have to.
Well, I want to throw the other Irvine numbers. Andrei Okanovich, 14 kills, hit 257. So he's contained. Those aren't Andrei Okanovich numbers, but he still is able to contribute in so many ways defensively and in serve receive. He is such a freaking good passer. You know, Irvine's one of the top 3 passing teams in the nation. Defensively, they're up there also. But you cannot avoid the talk of Trevor Clark, who bailed Irvine out in the middle. 14 kills, 400, ace, 2 digs, and 2 block assists.
He had 14 kills out of 30 attempts. Yoka had 35 attempts. These are outside hitter numbers. Now, granted, Clark was an outside hitter in junior college, so he's used to swinging that much. But you just kept feeding that kid the rock because I think he touches 16 feet last time I checked. And he's finding the court. He's doing what he's putting people in pressure situations. And kudos to that kid. I mean, that's a lot of swings for a middle. But yeah, they are no joke. They fight tooth and nail. And I texted Niff the next day and just said, hey, congrats. What a match. I liked how you guys scrap. And he goes, yeah, I'm a big fan of our team's cohesiveness right now. And he's right. They're playing for each other. You know, I mean, you look at Costi the night before he gets a bloody nose, and then you look at the next night, and there's no shortage. Guys are just going out and leaving it all on the court, and they're doing anything they can to be able to fight for their team. That's awesome. It's so much fun to watch.
But we got to talk about the drama because the reality of it is I posted a recap on my social and it is like at a 500,000 views. And,
Yeah.
you know, as you see, it's a 16-14 win in the fifth set for Irvine, but I'm going to walk our viewers and listeners through what happened here.
Yep.
Rama puts the ball away, makes it match point UCLA, serving at 12. UCLA serves the ball. Irvine, good play, sets out to Brink at the outside. It looks like it's hit wide and long. I mean, he was obviously going for hands.
Yep.
So UCLA bench runs out on the court. Some families coming in on the end line, but the camera pans to Niff, and you hear Niff's going to challenge. So
Yeah.
there,
We've done that. Coaches have done that. Steal a little of the thunder. You never know.
That's still part of the game plan. So, and I'm trying to be Niff, like, well, what am I got to lose? It's like I got him, and I'm watching. I think everyone's watching. Oh, that ball was hit out. Well, the R2 reviews the footage, and it was a lengthy review, by the way. It was right around 2 minutes, maybe over.
Yep.
Comes back, sees a touch.
Yeah.
14-13, UCLA leading.
Yep.
And then this is what Jay was referring to. So Irvine serves the ball, and UCLA with a pass. Rowan goes to Thorne. And the one error of the night by Thorne was on that hit. Ties it up at 14s.
Yeah, and he just missed it by, and it's his patented go up and then turn and bang at this crossbody, and he just pulled it a little wide. You don't know how much he missed the fingers by. It could have been, but the one error on your night, and it's that one. That stings a little bit.
Well, so we're at 14 all. Next play, Irvine serves. The ball goes back and forth a few times, and it's a scrappy rally. I mean, there's a whole lot of junk at the net. People just sticking out a limb to keep it in play, but they're still able to run somewhat of a good transition offense. So the second time around, or third time around, Brink gets the ball back again, wipes off the outside block, and Hawks, as a good coach, he's going to challenge it because he wants to make sure it didn't go off the attacker's hand last.
Yep.
Well, they lose that challenge. It is now match point Irvine. Serving to 14. Irvine serves the ball. And who are you going to go to? Rama has been the guy in, their entire match, but in the even more clutch situations, he has been the man. They serve Rama, and he'd been using the entire toolkit all night. Roll shot here, cutty there, blast there, over the top, off the block. This one he rolls off to the side, but he may have overcompensated, overthought it. He hit it about 2 feet wide. Match point Irvine. They're going to the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Yeah. As you're describing it, I'm remembering the images in my head. And if I'm not mistaken, UCI's blocker got held up a little bit because I think Thorne went for a little bit of a wide gap. And I think he thought maybe he was going to go there. So he hung just a split second. He didn't get burned. And Rama went up and had a wide open. I mean, I'm talking, you could drive a semi through that block to the antenna distance. And just cuffed it just a little bit wide. And you could see the right back defender just look at it and go, "What?" And the whole crowd just went silent. And, when you watch teams think they've won a very important match of that magnitude, and there is celebrating already going on. And you're right, crowd, team, everybody's celebrating. We've got this. We did it. And then less than 5 minutes later, you are, holy smokes, our season is over. That juxtaposition of emotions is so gnarly. I mean, you think about back when Karch Karai, when he was playing beach, and there was that famous, I think it was in Rhode Island, where he had won, thought he had won, and then ended up losing over a, controversial call, and then loses the next few points. I mean, it just, you can't even fathom how to deal with that. And they showed the camera on Hawks, and you could see he was rattled a little bit, and rightfully so. I mean, geez Louise, you just went from, we're the number one seed, we're hosting the Final Four next week, we're the guys, awesome, this is going to be great, to our season is over, and we are hosting and not in it. And that, I didn't have the heart to send him a note. I probably will sometime this week once the dust settles a little bit and his emotions are a little bit calmer. I'm sure Hawks is he's fine. I mean, there's no suicide watch, but man, oh man, UCI just never gave up and just kept fighting. Now, I watched that video too of the brink swing, and as well as I think everybody who was a fan or was watching that match and saw different angles. I didn't see a touch, and I don't think a lot of other people did either. And if you claim that you did, please show me where you saw it, because I didn't see it. It was a few inches above the hand, and I don't know what the refs were looking at. Granted, we get shown the footage from certain cameras that are whatever the cameras are, but that's not all the cameras that the refs see. The systems that they get are different cams from different angles that are specifically designed for certain angles that the TV doesn't get to see. I don't know what they saw. Maybe they saw something that we all didn't. And if they did, I wish they would make it public, because it's causing an uproar of sorts, because the UCLA fans are pissed, and rightfully so. And the UCI fans are happy because they got the call their way. And what happens if that call doesn't make? Does it change the match? Yeah, it changes the match dramatically.
Yeah, I know, Jay, we got to have a hard start. So I'm trying to see how we can conclude this episode here.
I got another 5 minutes in me. So 5 to 10 minutes. I'll give you until 12:40.
All right. Well, I wanted to add on that, because there, obviously being a broadcaster, I can attest to what Jay is saying. We only get to see the broadcast view, and DV Sport has additional cameras. And depending on how much the schools want to invest in that system, they can have up to, like, I've seen 16 cameras at Irvine. Others have more, but the issue then becomes like the quality of it. You want like at least 240 frames per second, which I know that these cameras aren't. I mean, on VNL and Hawkeye, I mean, those are like 4, 6, 8K cameras that they're using.
Yeah.
And they're getting every micro wiggle and spin.
Yeah.
So, I never want to put judgment on the referees, because it is a tough job. But if they do have a conclusive view, which, knowing that staff, they're a really experienced crew that was on that match. They had to have seen something.
Well, and that footage doesn't get deleted. Every ref crew is supposed to save all the challenges, at least if you're part of the ecosystem, which is what we are part of. I don't know what UCLA is a part of. I'm going to assume it's the same. Could be different, but they save all the challenges, and all those get sent to the referee assigners, and they look at them to make sure that everything was done correctly, and just streamline it for future. Right?
Yeah.
Somebody's got that access. Somebody out there has this footage. Publish it. I want to see it. And listen, I don't want to take it away from NIF. I don't want to make it sound like NIF, you don't deserve it. I love your team. I love watching your team. I like how you coach. It is so much fun to watch, and I'm glad that you're getting a chance to go fight. So please compartmentalize that. But I want to see it. I want to see it.
Well, we're going to have a discussion on video challenge next week, and sportsmanship we've already been discussing. If we don't have enough to talk about, but for some reason I have this feeling we're going to have plenty to talk about. So maybe 2 episodes.
Yes. Well, let's end on predictions.
The matchups.
Yeah, matchups and the predictions, and then the player of the year, because that's happening this week. Our predictions on that, and then we'll end on that. I've got 10 minutes exactly left in me. So,
well, let's go with the player of the year first, because that's a hard one for me, Jay. With now, I know it should be the body of work for this year, but does that affect Andrew Rowan's chances? Because he was definitely a front runner. And then Rogers, now with the way this season has continued on for him in the manner that it has, that has to move his stock up. And Skylar Varga of Long Beach State, they're in that Fantastic Four as well, and alive. And Tread Rosenthal as well.
Yeah, I don't have their season numbers in front of me. I wish I did, but I think it's very fitting out of the final 4 for that position, or for that accolade. 2 are setters, 2 are outside hitters. I think it's appropriate. And every single one of them is good, really good, and fun to watch. The only unfortunate thing is that one of them will not be playing in the final 4. And I think, and this is just my own knee-jerk reaction, because of that, I think Rowan is now not in that position to win it. Obviously, 2 losses is nothing to shake a stick at. It's really accomplished, and I don't know of any other team that has that. But the other 3 led their teams to this Final Four matchups, and I if I'm a gambling man, I think it's going to be between Rosenthal and Rogers. I think Varga's good. I'm not saying he's a chump that doesn't deserve any accolades, but he had a little bit of a slump there towards the latter part of the season. And granted, this last week he stepped it up a little bit, and that's great. It's the Varga that we all know, but I think he maybe had a couple of matches where he was not the guy, and the other part of the team had to step up. Rosenthal and Rogers were always the guys. They always were there and always performed. And out of those 2, I wish we could wait till the finals to make that decision. I wish we could see that both of them are in the finals, and the winning team, that would be the guy. That's what I wish. And unfortunately, that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, because it's going to be unveiled on Friday night before the semis at the All-America Social. So that's a hard pick. And, Rowan has had a fantastic career.
Yeah.
Fantastic career.
Yeah, 2 natties, another final, and I think
another.
Come on.
Yeah.
He's stupid good. He's going to be on the national team. He's going to be on the Olympic team. The accolades are endless. But I think Rogers and Rosenthal are the 2. I don't even know who to pick out of those 2. I have to look at the numbers first before I make the decision. My knee jerk is it's Rosenthal. My heartstring would be for Rogers, because to lead a team that doesn't get all of the accolades that Hawaii gets on the regular basis, it would be fun to see somebody from the Midwest kind of go, hey. But those are my final 2.
So we should be stalking Brad, Dan, and Nikki. We should be looking through their emails.
I can't wait to see it, though. I can't wait to see it. And I hope and pray that both those teams are in the finals, and I hope and pray that it's a good match.
And I honestly think I'd be sharing the views of tens of thousands of people at this point. All 4 of you guys, you candidates, are so worthy of it. I mean,
100%.
They're like personal favorites, but if you look at the body of work from this season, man, you guys have made this such a fun stinking year to watch.
So many great storylines, so many great performances, so many great efforts. 2026 was a year that had everything in it, and these are the absolute best of the best, and all 4 of them very well deserving. And it's a shame that only one of you gets to win it, but that's the way it works, right? So,
all right. Well, we are going to know soon. In fact, I have a feeling I might know earlier because I'm emceeing that All-American banquet.
Don't tell me.
My lips are sealed. I'm not saying anything. I don't want to know.
I want to find out when everybody else finds out. So, all right.
Which goes to our predictions.
Yep.
I have to go to you, Jay, because I'm going to cop out.
You're going to cop out. I can understand why. So, let's go with Hawaii Long Beach. First of all, Hawaii has beaten Long Beach both times. They saw them this year, once in 5 at Long Beach and once in 3 the next night at Long Beach. Mm-hmm. I think Hawaii's got it in them. I think they've got the right pieces at the right time. Hawaii is and there's no pun. Obviously, I know they're the Warriors. They have a warrior mentality, and they will go down swinging like crazy. And it being at UCLA in a non-Long Beach gym, although Long Beach will travel, Hawaii fans travel way better.
Yeah, that's another home match for Hawaii.
It's another home match. Listen, they can play in the middle of Arkansas, and there will be a Hawaii contingency that comes out of the woodworks. Hawaii fans are rabid, and watching them support their team is going to be fun to watch. I think Hawaii is going to pull that one out. And I won't make a prediction in the games or sets, but I think Hawaii is going to pull that one out. And the next one is Ball State UC Irvine. I want to see a team from the Midwest bring it back east, so to speak. And as much hype as everybody gives the West Coast teams, rightfully so. There are good teams out there all over the place. Mm-hmm. To have a non-West Coast team get to that finals would be really exciting. But I love UCI. I just love what they do. And I like Niff, the way he coaches. I like his style. He's different, right? He's just a different bird. And I love that about him. And they are, to me, they're the darlings of the tournament right now. The sad part is, so is Ball State. I wish they weren't playing each other. I wish they were both on opposite sides of this bracket so that they could potentially see each other in the finals, because that'd be a lot of fun. So I got to pick one. Does UCI have it again in them? I think the answer is yes, but I really like what Ball State's doing. And I think Darcy's going to be the key to this, because Darcy, I think, hit 0 in that match, didn't he? In the UCLA. Yeah. I think he did.
Darcy did hit 0. 5 kills.
0.
5 errors.
If Darcy can contribute a little bit and everybody else can do what they did, then it's a whole nother game. But
I just know if we can see 30 attempts for a middle blocker.
Yeah, well, if you're Ball State, you're definitely paying attention to it, right? I think I really don't want to make this call because I like them both. But I'm gonna go with Ball State. I'm gonna go with Ball State. I just think momentum is there. I love what UCI is doing. It's not Ball State and UC Irvine. It's Ball State, UC Irvine. It's so slight in my prediction, but it would not surprise me if Irvine pulls it off, because they're just riding this train.
Well, I share this because I was thinking of analogies for this. It's like 2 Cinderellas went to the same ball in the semifinals, and they're looking at each other like, we shouldn't be seeing you quite yet.
Yeah, and it's going to be midnight soon, and that's such a bummer because they're both so fun to watch. So, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Ball State, Hawaii in the finals. At that point, we'll talk about it on Monday, who my prediction is for, because I'll have numbers in front of me. But that's my call. But what an exciting weekend! What a great weekend to watch volleyball. And man, this next weekend is going to be even better. It's going to be even more fun to watch. So get your TVs roamed up, people.
I know. Well, you don't have to multi-screen this coming week. So
right.
Well, with that, Jay with his George Mason backpack carrying Nikki Sandlin, Dan Fran, Theo Edwards, and Brad Rothschitter, who are on important assignments this week and team responsibilities, which we totally respect and all that, because they love this game. They passionately follow it, and they share it with all you, our viewers and listeners, along with Jay, one of the OG members of College Volleyball Weekly. But we're not done yet. We got at least 2 more remaining. So
OG, my B-boy stance.
Yeah. So I just found out that on the semifinal broadcast are going to be Brian Fenley and a Henry Kassoff for the semis. And then on the final, we have the original College Volleyball Weekly founder. That would be Kevin Barnett alongside Paul Sunderland for the final.
Yeah,
so, and that will be on ESPN too. The others are going to be on ESPN Plus. So
cool. Well, ESPN Plus, kudos. You did a good job. And your production levels are really high. So kudos.
All right. For Jay Hosick, I'm Rob Aspero. We are out till episode 311, and we're going to have our final set.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at The Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.